Welcome to the Primal Show with today's guest, Sam Felton from SmashTheFat.com. And really glad to have you on. I've been watching a lot of your videos on YouTube and checking out your site. And this guy's customers and consumers of his diet and workout program have been getting phenomenal results. And definitely, very proud to have you on the show because I think what you're doing is awesome by combining diet and fitness together. It's not a really new concept, but a lot of people are only focusing on one nowadays. And I'm glad to see that you're doing both. You're definitely a person that practices what he preaches. And I'm all about that. And I think the results are in your own, body, in your pictures, and your own transformation as well as your customers. So thanks for coming on the show today.
It's a pleasure, Heath.
Tell us a little bit about what you got going on. You run a boot camp all throughout the UK, and you focus on like kind of a low carb, high fat diet with mixed with exercise, and obviously a very intense exercise. And I think the combination of the two obviously works. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have going on in your program?
Sure. So 5 years ago, I qualified as a master personal trainer at the European Institute of Fitness. And in that time, I started Smash the Fat Fitness and Fat Loss Boot Camps, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a fitness boot camp for fat loss and for fitness. And we've got about 10 locations around the country, serving about 5,000 people a year, helping them obtain and maintain a healthy lifestyle through exactly what you were saying there, which is basically strength and interval training during the exercise class, and also recommending a low carb, high fat, real food diet at the same time. And yeah, as you can kind of see from all the before and after photos, and also all of the success stories on our YouTube channel as well, we've had some phenomenal results, and we've really helped people obtain and maintain it, which is kind of one of the most important things for me, is maintaining that healthy lifestyle for the long term.
Well, I think you really touched on something there because there's so many programs nowadays that are only for 30 days, right? And it's like, well, what happens after 30 days, And a lot of people do these like Whole30s and these 30-day programs, and they're great and they're real food, but it's too difficult. And there's no in between. It's kind of like all or nothing. People are like, I feel amazing, for 30 days. And then guess what? They start putting on the weight back on, and they start, their old habits start to come back. And I'm more all about just giving a program that you can give people that it's going to last them a lifetime. It's a lifestyle change. I think I started really about a year after you did. In 2011, I switched to a low carb, I would say moderate fat, because I actually do watch my caloric intake overall, and that worked for me. Although some people can get away with higher fat, but I got tremendous results. I almost lost 40 pounds. Like yourself, I was able to get a six-pack by following this style. And then it eventually went into like a paleo keto low carb diet, which I kind of follow all the time. And the only time I really do take in carbs would be after a very intense workout to kind of replenish glycogen. Because I find myself maybe every 3 or 4 days needing like some sweet potato, but only immediately really after a workout. Do you do anything similar yourself to kind of replenish your glycogen levels, or?
I actually kind of do the opposite. So
it's okay.
Yeah, it's all good. I actually recommend people to eat their carbs pre-workout. So say if you were, for instance, coming to my classes in East London, which like in an evening, so that'd be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evening. So I'd encourage my campers to have their starch on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday lunchtimes, stroke afternoon. And then they're going to be using that for the workout specifically, so that they can, almost perform at their very best, given that they've had enough sleep, they're in a good mood, their stress levels aren't too high and things like that. But that's kind of out of my hands to some degree. Yeah, that's generally what I recommend. I recommend people to have their starch pre-workout. And then afterwards, it should be all good in the hood. But that's kind of like basically what we recommend.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. We make a new paleo protein bar that it's kind of got some prebiotic fiber in it, and it's there's time where I'll have a bar right before a workout, and it just really gives me a lot more fuel. So I think there's two components. You can definitely have it right immediately before, or I've also seen a really anabolic effect having it like 15 minutes afterwards. I usually do sweet potato or egg whites. And I just noticed a real hardening of all the muscles when I kind of implement that.
Mm-hmm.
If I try to do low carb all the time, I notice kind of getting sluggishness and stuff like that. And adding a bit of carbs back into the diet at the proper time really isn't a bad thing. And I think a lot of people are scared about it that follow a low carb way of living. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't have carbs. But I think it's all about timing. But
yeah, totally agree.
So tell us a little bit about, I was actually reading about your 5,000 calorie experiment and how you loaded yourself with a lot of fat. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of other people on the internet that do this, but they do it with carbs. You're doing it with fat. But I point out, like, there's a guy like Julian who's like, hey, have, 10,000 bananas a day and you're going to get ripped. Well, what he doesn't tell you is that he's like a marathon runner. Maybe he does. But he is a very active person, and he's going to burn no matter what that guy puts into his system. He's going to burn it. Now, you took in 5,000 calories, but you run a boot camp. Now, I'm not comparing you to Julian Ryder, but you guys are both very active. And now I'm all about taking in high fat or focusing on healthy fats. But I think what you see, and what I'm going to say here has been proven by bodybuilders, that before, like on a diet, if you're trying to lose weight, I feel like don't take in an overabundance of calories. And whether it be from, specifically not from carbs, but don't go well above and beyond your metabolic burn rate. And the reason I think this is because bodybuilders before a show, they drop tremendous amounts of weight, and they do it very quickly by lowering their overall fat intake and going well below their body's metabolic burn rate. And I actually believe this because I've done some photo shoots and stuff like that, and the thing that I actually regulate, because I'm already paleo, I'm already low carb, I regulate the fat, and I can drop my calories down, and my body just drops every little bit of water weight, all the little, it's way more, I'm way more cut, I like to say it. And I noticed that a lot of people that prescribe to that, they don't really count calories. They're kind of, they haven't maybe reached their ideal weight. Now, you're kind of the exception to that because you're very lean. But what do you think about what I said right there? I know that this is kind of like a hot topic.
Yeah, it is. So just to give the viewers and listeners out there a bit of a background on these 5,000 calorie experiments that I did, and they're purely self-experiments that I did kind of almost 18 months ago. That's not my daily diet.
Thank you for saying that, because there are low carbers out there that do take in a tremendous amount of calories from fat, and I don't think those people are actually reaching their goals. So thank you for clarifying that.
No, absolutely. So what I did, I actually did 3 experiments. So the first one was low carb, high fat, real foods. And over those 21 days, I ate almost 6,000 calories a day. And over those 21 days, I put on just over 1 kilo. But I actually lost 3 centimeters, so just over an inch from my waist. And then on a second experiment, I did high carb, low fat, but fake foods. So everything kind of from pizza, cereal, and kind of, skimmed milk, and everything that you can think of that, is either the British average diet or the, American, the standard American diet. And on that one, I actually ended up putting on just over 7 kilos.
Oh, wow.
And 9.25 centimeters around my waist. which is 3.5 inches. And the weight, that's about 16 pounds in 21 days, so 3 weeks. And then this final third experiment that I did was eating at the same amount of calorie surplus, but I ended up, and it was high carb, low fat again, but very low fat because it was vegan and it was real food as well. And I ended up putting 5 kilos on that one.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is that on those first two, I actually ended up in the same net calorie surplus. So kind of when you take away the protein thermogenic effect, the loss of fiber, any calories lost in exercise or anything like that, it was 47,000 calories surplus,
Sure.
right? And that means that I should have put on 6 kilos. But obviously on that low carb, high fat one, I only put on about just over 1 kilo. And then on the on that second one, I put on over the calorie predicted amount at 7 kilos. And then on this last one, when you take away, I was eating a tremendous amount of fiber, by the way, Heath. This was crazy. So the recommended daily amount, right, in the UK is 25 grams.
Yeah.
And I was eating 3 times, no, in fact, I think it might have been 5 times the amount of that. It was crazy. I don't want to go into my toiletry habits, but it was bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I ended up in a 39,000 calorie surplus with that, which is kind of pretty much on the money in terms of how much I was meant to put on due to that. Now, I don't know if you've seen, but I've actually written a book called Simology, which is right here. And in that, I kind of describe about these experiments, self-experiments, I must clarify as well. And also how quantity is involved. So there's no question that quantity is involved somewhere. My point is that it's a biochemical balancing act that's going on, and quantity has a serious effect on the amount of insulin that you're going to be secreting, amount of leptin you're going to be secreting, and everything like that, right? What does matter is whether your fat cells are increasing in size and growing in number as well, or if they're decreasing, right? And you can get that in a few different ways, and part of that can be dietary, like too much dietary fat intake, and it can also be secreting too much insulin as well.
Absolutely.
So kind of there's like a massive kind of complex biochemical balancing act that's going on here. And I mean, I used to do a bit of fitness modeling as well. And yeah, for sure, the one thing that you kind of do is that you always manipulate your carbohydrates in terms of, if you're wanting to gain or cut. And then fat is also the other thing that you do for a finishing touch.
Absolutely.
So when you come to that photo shoot ready day, you certainly decrease the amount of fat that you're eating, kind of your protein kind of goes up. So you're kind of taking the dietary fat out of the equation. It's certainly not a healthy long-term thing to do, because you don't want to be having the majority of your diet purely from protein. But it's a short-term fix if you're wanting to get cut for a photo shoot or a comp or anything like that. So I think we're on a similar page right there, bud.
Well, I think there's something really to be learned from this, where I think we both agree that low carb, high fat, or I like to say moderate fat diet will really get you the best results. I say moderate fat because I stay lean year round. I have a 6-pack year round. I'm now working out less, and I get just as good as results when I used to do like P90X or these crazy workout programs. I'm still getting incredible results, but I don't have to work out that hard anymore. It's almost effortless now. And the only thing that I really play around with, because I'm already low carb, I'm already eating real foods, is my fat. And I say it's a lot easier for somebody that's obese or heavily overweight to really lose a lot of weight. But then what happens that last, I would say, 50 or even 30 pounds, it gets really difficult for them. And I found in order to get to your ideal weight, to get to that really lean cut look, I find that upping your protein, upping your vegetables, and taking in and decreasing the fat is really the way to drive to the finish line. And that's been proven by bodybuilders to help you get there. Now, sure, once you get to your goal, yeah, sure, add a little more healthy fat. But a lot of people stop too short, or they end up stalling, and I think they get really frustrated because they're like, what's working, not working, and they're still consuming too many calories above their metabolic burn rate. And with today's technology like the iWatch and all these great devices we have, it's so easy to get your calorie count on and just to simply take in less. Now, given you're going to be taking in less calories anyways, because you're going to be taking in less foods from processed foods and carbs and things like that. So you actually get to eat a wider array of food from fats and healthy lean meats and nuts and things like that. And that's what I like about what you do is you preach moderation in your program. And because I saw your typical eating program was you moderated the nuts, you got rid of basically all the sugar, and you focused on the meats and stuff like that and the healthy fats. And I commend you for doing that, because that's definitely the way to get people to their goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I said before, it really is a bit of a balancing act between everything, and you kind of got to take lots of different things into account. And that can be anything from their sleeping patterns, their stress levels, exactly kind of what they're eating. And as you say, kind of your body can almost go in a cycle, and particularly if you're moving from, say, a low fat, high carb, fake food diet to the exact opposite, which is a low carb, high fat, real food diet. Your gut microbiome has to make that transition. So you've kind of got that to play, and yeah, you should definitely have some probiotic foods in there to help you make that transition. Yeah, it's a real balancing act that you have to try and track as many things as you can, so you can try and figure out exactly what's going on, and approach a professional who's kind of dealt with lots of different people, or just kind of go into a community online or locally, and say, right, this is exactly what I'm doing on a daily basis and nothing's budging, and then that professional or community will say, well, you should probably take that out, or you should maybe reduce your portion size a bit, or chuck in an intermittent fast at some point, or just make sure that you're getting enough sleep as well, which is so important.
I agree. And do you
a lot of people aren't getting enough.
Do you recommend any sort of sleep aids like melatonin to your customer, to your clients?
That's kind of my last resort for sleeping. I try and get them to do it naturally first. It's something that is built into the program, in that it's something that comes down the road. First things first, try and get them to go through some mindfulness meditation just before bed. And also, obviously, trying to make sure that any lighting is kind of below eye level and shaded as well, or even ideally kind of wearing some sort of orange eyewear as well before going to bed, and then kind of if that improves things, then that's fine. We don't have to recommend any melatonin or anything like that, but if kind of they try all of that, then melatonin is the next thing to try. But the mindfulness meditation stuff is kind of really interesting, because a lot of people find that they can't sleep because they're thinking about the past, or they're fretting over the future. And mindfulness meditation is all about just trying to control your thoughts, so that you can be in the moment. And when you're in the moment, then you don't really have to think about anything, and then your brain can shut off a lot easier as well. So yeah, trying to get rid of those runaway thoughts is certainly what we're trying to do with that. And melatonin will certainly help with that as well.
Well, one of the things I found, especially with sleep, is when I was carrying like 40 pounds of extra fat that I didn't need, my estrogen level was out of control. And a lot of people are struggling with, I think, estrogen. And it's something that I personally found there's a lot of herbs and nutritional information that can decrease estrogen. So yeah, one of the components I found really about sleep is when I was heavier and carrying an extra 40 pounds I didn't need, I found that my estrogen level was really high until I lost the fat. And personally, I did a lot of research and I found this great product called Estro X that we now sell on our website, but it actually decreased my estrogen level. So I started sleeping way better. I took it right before bedtime, and it boosted my testosterone. Now, this was important while I was losing the fat because, as you know, like fat just like makes estrogen go crazy. So as I lost the fat, my testosterone level kept rising, and I feel people typically that are overweight are really over estrogenized, especially because of products like soy and GMOs. And we have all these xenoestrogens from pesticides that mimic estrogen in the body. So guys end up getting man boobs, and this affects all sorts of things, but specifically sleep. And when I reduced my estrogen level, and I confirmed it with my doctor by running some simple blood tests, I started sleeping great. I started getting more definition, and guess what? The fat started to drop off a lot faster, all because I was ridding my body of estrogen. I also started eating a lot more broccoli as well, which is another great anti-estrogen. And I noticed my sleep really improved, and I think it's something that people really struggle with is that hormone. And then we also have the declining hormones as we get into our 30s. Can I ask how old you are?
31.
31. So you just turned 30. Obviously, things are starting to adjust for you just a little bit. I'm 38, so I have a few more years on you. But do you recommend anything to your clients to boost testosterone levels? Because it's something that both men and women do have is testosterone. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are severely suffering, especially when they're overweight, because that gives us that drive to want to go work out. And have you found any supplements that you recommend to that people?
Not supplements per se. I mean, in terms of trying to boost people's testosterone, it would be trying to get more exercise, and also eating real food, particularly, and things with vitamin D, cholesterol, and things like that, building blocks of testosterone, is kind of what we recommend. No specific supplements really. But I'd be really interested to look at that supplement that you took there, Heath.
Yeah.
Because that is something that people do really struggle with. And if there's a supplement out there that has a marked effect on it, and that has kind of a knock-on effect to them getting better sleep, being less stressed, and then also getting them more motivated to exercise, then it's kind of, a happy little circle instead of a vicious circle.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds really cool, man.
Yeah, it is, and people are saying that it's actually based on what their experience from taking a pharmaceutical grade anti-estrogen to this herbal vitamin, it's just as strong and it's just as effective. Because of what I have a lot of friends that are in their 40s and 50s, and now they've gone on to testosterone replacement, unfortunately, because they had given up before eating real food. So they've kind of gone in that direction. And what a lot of people are finding, because TRT is so prevalent, is that they're boosting their testosterone level up, but guess what comes with boosting testosterone? More estrogen. So they end up getting man boobs. Sure, they're super strong, but they're holding extra fat. So it's such an important, they're not adjusting their diet. Once they do adjust their diet, sure, your estrogen level goes down, but diet has such an important and powerful role on both testosterone and estrogen, and keeping that in check, because a lot of guys will take these supplements and they boost their testosterone level up. It's like, hey, I've gained all this weight, and it's not necessary, and you're right. A lot of people can just do it with diet, but I find that the motivation sometimes in the beginning to get to the gym
Mm-hmm.
and to really get going is lacking. And a lot of it is hormone related. And it takes a little while for eating real foods and so forth to kind of kick in before your metabolism and your hormones start to work. And sometimes having a little extra nudge doesn't hurt.
Absolutely not. I mean, short term things that can help keep you motivated, and if it gives you that initial nudge, as you say, that initial result, and kind of pushes things over the edge, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I've done some research on two things specifically: is Tongkat Ali by itself, so no added supplements to it. Tongkat Ali is amazing and they have some clinical studies that it actually worked on men that had hypogonadism, and these clinical studies showed this tremendous increase in testosterone. Another one just recently started was D-aspartic acid, just by itself, and that ingredient is usually in with these horrible mixes that have all this other stuff, but when you back out the ingredients on a lot of supplements, you find that one core element, it could be an amino acid like L-arginine or ornithine, but there's always something in these supplements that actually does work, and it's mixed in with all this stuff that's not healthy with you. And so I've started to hone in on these ingredients and look at the clinical research and do my own, self experimentation, and then I go to the doctor and see if it actually works based on the blood. Because as I approach 40, I want to keep my testosterone level high. I want to keep it in the 800s if at all possible, because that's where you see dramatic anabolic, results. And I think you can keep a healthy testosterone level above 700 and do it naturally. You don't have to replace it. And a lot of my friends that have replaced their testosterone level, they don't feel good after a while. They're dealing with new things like inflammation and all these side effects like too much estrogen, and it just doesn't have to be that way, And I wish I would have been able to talk to them before they went on that journey. Have you found a lot of the same problems with some of your clients, or is testosterone?
I mean, over here in the UK, it's not so much kind of an issue. People don't really go to doctors to get testosterone shots. I'm not even kind of aware of the legalities even over here at the moment, because I mean it's nothing that I've kind of really looked into myself. I've heard about things similar to what you were saying there over in America. Over here in the UK, slightly different playing field, but I mean you certainly get that as people are getting older, their homeostasis, their biochemical balance is completely changing, particularly with the clients that I work with, which is women between 30 to 50, and kind of on that 50 range, they're going into menopause, and kind of even the andropause for guys, where the testosterone really kind of takes a plummet unless you look after yourself properly, kind of by exercising correctly, getting enough sleep and eating well, and getting enough sex as well. Yeah. Is kind of part of that. Certainly, that's one of the best ways to boost testosterone, fellas. So yeah. Get on, and ladies as well.
It's good for our prostate. Exactly.
Yeah. Certainly, it's full body workout, and it's great for kind of your well-being and also your metabolic health as well.
So out of all, is there anything you can kind of, if you were to wrap up the easiest way to lose weight, for people? Obviously, we talked about the sleep component, a hormone component, the diet. I mean, for somebody to really, lose weight quickly and healthy, your prescription is really this low carb, high fat diet. Dropping out the sugar. I mean, is there any other little secrets and tips into that easiest way to lose weight, you would say?
So, I mean, I suppose the easiest way to lose weight is just not to eat, but that's not particularly sustainable. So yeah, it's not particularly helpful.
There is that.
You can do it for about 40 days, but then you're on death's door, so it's not so helpful. But what I describe in my book, in my program over here in the UK, that I recommend people is to start off with that low carb, high fat, real foods diet, because the randomized controlled trial shows that to kind of be the best starting point. And as I'm sure you know, Heath, it's different for everybody
Yeah.
to a certain extent. But there are good foundations on which to begin a journey, and that's one of them. So I recommend people to remove, for sure, starch and sugar for approximately 28 days, 4 weeks. And then after those 4 weeks, then you reintroduce kind of the low GI, lower sugar fruits such as berries and cherries. Then after a couple of weeks of reintroducing that, then you're going to bring back maybe some more full fat dairy if you're able to tolerate dairy or anything like that. Because I recommend people not to have milk or yogurt in that first 4 weeks, because when you look at them as a whole, they're still relatively low in fat. I still allow people to have cheese and cream, but I limit those, and always with the caveat of, if you can't tolerate dairy, don't have it. And then
I'm with you on that. I mean, there's so many great replacements like coconut cream and coconut yogurt now. But myself, I can't have dairy. I get like really mucousy. So I think that's great advice right there.
Exactly. Just avoid it. Nobody wants to be mucousy.
No.
And then after that kind of 6 weeks, we've 8 weeks in fact, reintroduced the fruit, reintroduced the dairy, and then if you can tolerate it, and then after that, then you reintroduce the starch as well on those workout days. So kind of that's what you're really using it for mostly, is your starches for fueling your workouts, and also it will help support other things in terms of your gut microbiome, particularly if you're kind of using it as a resistant starch, you're having some sushi, some cold rice, or even some cold potatoes, something along those lines. And then kind of eventually sticking to that, trying to focus just on having your starches to fuel yourself around your intense workouts. Kind of the lower intensity stuff like walking or cycling, anything like that, can be totally fueled with fat. That's not particularly a problem. The higher intensity stuff might be better off with carbohydrate. But again, it completely depends on the person. And that's kind of my 12-week program there. And then thereafter, kind of, you stick around that. Obviously, kind of you can't stick to that 100% of the time. Things come up. Like today, it was my mum's retirement party. So kind of after working at a university for the past 35 years, she's retired. Well, in fact, I didn't have anything. But sometimes at parties, if somebody kind of offers me a piece of cake or something like that, I might indulge myself a little bit. But the point is that I only allow off-plan eating to come to me. I don't go out to find it. I only allow it to come to me. And I only do that in social situations as well. That's another good point, is that in a group scenario, you tend to police yourself more. If you cheat by yourself, then you're going to overshoot. You go crazy, man. You go out, you get a large pizza, you get a tub of ice cream, you get a massive packet of chips, and people go crazy on that shit. So you got to be careful and try and go off plan only in social situations, and then it kind of takes care of itself. And then kind of apart from that, I mean, you've always got to play around with things. If you're not losing weight, certainly look at either portion size or certainly putting in an intermittent fast in once a week, starting off on 16 hours. and increasing it maybe by 4 hours a week over 4 weeks. So 16, and then 20, 24, and then do another 24 from there, and kind of see if that makes a difference. And then we kind of know that, okay, you might have been eating too much, quite possibly.
Right.
So
that's
kind of something that you always got to look out for.
Yeah, it's a great way to reboot the metabolism is intermittent fasting. I typically, when I do that, I like to do it like Monday through Wednesday, and then I'll have like Thursday through Sunday. I'll kind of reintroduce, my typical paleo kind of diet with low sugar, low carb. But yeah, I mean, I've seen great results doing that, and so have a lot of my friends. So it's definitely some good advice there. I'd love to send you some. I'd love to send you some of our products. We just launched our Paleo wraps into the UK, and we make the only gluten-free, grain-free coconut flake cereal, and those are all being sold on Amazon in the UK. So it's a great market, and we'll definitely have to send you some. It's some good stuff going on. Now, for your book, do you just have the one book?
Yeah, just the one book.
Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. So if you just search Simology, the title, then it'll come up.
Okay.
And yeah, it's available on Prime as well. So if you've got Amazon Prime, then you got your free delivery as well.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And now, do you do any online coaching for all of us over here in the U.S.? I mean, are you available for that sort of one-on-one sort of approach, or?
Not typically. I kind of keep stuff to just my. So I used to have this online diet club on the YouTube channel called Diet Dunces, and it's basically a Google Hangout where I'd have people kind of from all over the world, and literally in a group scenario using Google Hangouts, coach them on that. So if there's enough interest on that, then we'll get that going again. If people go to smashthefat.com/diet dunces, and if they want to apply there, then it'll all be free.
Awesome.
So if you want online coaching from me, you can get it for free if you want. You just apply to that Diet Dunces and we'll get it going.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely go to smashthefat.com. Make sure you check out Sam's YouTube page. He's got all sorts of amazing testimonials and transformations on there, and so much great information. Really want to thank you for coming on today. For all of my subscribers, thank you so much for supporting us, and for all the new visitors, make sure you hit the subscribe button and keep up to date with all of our latest videos. Thank you so much for coming on, Sam, today.
No problem, Heath. It's a pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.